What is a secret that could get you in serious trouble if it came out? Not me, but a close friend that I happened to be with when it happened. He loved breaking into vending machines back in the mid-80s to steal drinks and change. He tried breaking into one at an all-Jewish school, I'm going to leave location out, and inadvertently caused the machine to catch fire. This was on a weekend and no one was around. Burnt down almost half the school and caused them to close a school for over a year and probably a lot of money. The news ran this hate crime for weeks, and let me tell you, we were sweating that it would get out. We were there and he was responsible. Lucky for us, it's the mid-80s and no cameras like today. It was all over the news and in the newspaper. They just assumed some anti-Semitic organization had targeted the school. Nope, two ducking dumb as poor kids in hand-me-down clothes and bikes trying to get a ducking free Coke. I flooded the hotel on a field trip for school as I turned on all the taps in the men's bathroom and didn't understand why they weren't working. I'd found out later there was a 10-minute cut-off of water supply during that time, but forgot to turn off the taps after turning them all. Coincidentally, a few of the taps had plugs in them that I hadn't noticed at the time. This caused 2 floors to suffer a lot of water damage, including the girls' dorm, which would cost a lot to fix. I guess this is why public places moved to push taps rather than manual. Only one person knew I'd entered that bathroom during the time period, and he kept quiet as the teacher grilled everyone. I refused to say anything as I didn't want my family to get fined and also didn't want to be ridiculed, so to this day 15 years later I've not told a soul. Except Reddit now, lol. Edit. Didn't expect anyone to like this story. Thank you so much for the support, guys, it's made my day. The first month I had my license, I hit the side mirror off of someone's car while driving down a narrow street. Nobody was around to see it, and I knew my parents would freak out and be even more strict than they already were, so I panicked and kept driving. I have spent 20 years feeling guilty about this. One time when I was in a restaurant, I overheard a random couple talking about how someone had done the same to her car. I anonymously picked up their tab. Didn't really make up for my mistake, but at least made me feel a tiny bit better about what I did when I was an idiot 16-year-old. I hate my father-in-law. I have absolutely no love for him. So does my wife. Technically it's a stepdad. Her mom can put it together that we all don't particularly like him. Everyone ignores him because he's such a narcissist. No one knows why she puts up with his shit. He's filthy rich, so like maybe that's why. But she has her own money too. He is leaving us, well, my wife, a lot of money, and our kids, in their will. I guess greed gets the best of us and we swallow our pride. But he's the epitome of an asshole. The only silver lining I have with putting up with him is that my boys are set up for success. I hate that he has this power over our family. But that's life, I guess. Hacked my university's website and changed the welcome screen from a group photo comprised of students from various ethnicities and religions to a picture of a loaf of white bread. The administration had embarked on a media campaign to make the school look more racially and culturally diverse, which I thought was disingenuous at best, false advertising at worst, since the student body was 96% white and Christian. The administration was furious, especially when they figured out I locked them out from changing the code. The entire site had to be taken down and replaced. There was a full-on hunt for the criminals who humiliated the community. They never suspected me. I used to work in a call center for my country's tax agency, dealing primarily with benefits. The gov here gives regular payments to people under a certain income threshold, which isn't that low, and so a good chunk of the population here gets those payments. A frequent type of call we would get at the call center was asking about why they didn't get the couple $100 the caller was expecting to receive as usual. One day I answered a call from a lady who didn't get her expected payment. We would get all sorts of callers, and you get a pretty good sense of when people were being legitimate and when they were telling you a sob story to play on your emotions. This lady called in about the missing payment, and was clearly trying to hide the fact that she was severely devastated about not receiving the payment. It turned out that it was her daughter's birthday the following day, and she was planning on using that money to get her birthday gift, which she now had no means of buying. I noticed when she called that she lived in the same city as me, maybe about a 10-minute drive away. The database we have access to is the government's central taxpayer database. And it has a fuck ton of info on every single taxpayer in the country. Access to any account and any bit of information on an account is highly monitored, and anything you access is strictly and demonstrably need to know access only. Even the slightest violation is an insta-fired offense, and depending on what was accessed, your termination can be accompanied with criminal charges. Needless to say, recording any bit of information and bringing it out of the office is a big no-no. But when she called, I really felt for her. It wasn't a catastrophic situation like the calls sometimes are, but there are also a lot of callers who are clearly trying to guilt you into getting something. And she was clearly beside herself, and actively trying to minimize and hide just how devastated she was that she as a single mother wasn't going to be able to get her preteen daughter a birthday present. After looking into the situation, there was nothing I could do to get her the missing payment. And she lived barely 10 minutes from my place. So I decided to say duck it, I'm doing a good deed today, and memorized her street address. After work that day I went to her house, and knocked on the door. She answered, and I told her that I was walking down the street and saw a $100 bill on her lawn as I pulled it out of my pocket and asked if she had lost it. She burst into tears, and through happy sobs she told me that I had no idea about the day she's had and how timely this was. She did not refuse the bill when I gave it to her, and then gave her some cheesy line about how the universe is a mysterious place. So I mean, technically, was this a gross abuse of our country's taxpayer database? Absolutely. Did I feel bad about it? Not in the least, lol. I tossed 1,000 cannabis seeds off the beaten path in a nature preserve 15 years ago. Way back in the 90s, when every little shithole town had a useless police deputy, someone threw a handful of pot seeds into the police station flower beds. There were tons of plant coming up, and the fat sweaty cops got all pissy and put out an announcement that this would be severely punished if they caught you. So the whole damn town started doing it, and they had to pave the flower beds. A friend in high school was assigned landscape duty after receiving demerits. He came in on a Saturday. They gave him a wheelbarrow full of daffodil bulbs and told him to plant the beds in front of the nuns' residence, Catholic school. When the bulbs bloomed in the spring, they spelled out "duck you." I have no actual desire to do most things. Buy anything, go anywhere. I work to just support my family and their wants, needs in life, and I just go along with whatever goals they have in life because I feel like I've done all mine. It's a secret because it would just cause arguments and my wife wanting me to do more counseling or something with pills. And I'm good, I'm pretty happy. I just have no real goals anymore in my life for myself. I'm tapped out. I did all the things that mattered in my life. Debt free, 6-figure job, live overseas, sell own homes. 4. Create a family that's non-violent and loving. Family vacations monthly, be monthly, been around the world. 2x. West to East in USA road trip. 3x. Vegas. Adopted kids. 3. Have bio kids. 2. Married. 2x. And more. Like I said. Tapped out, and I'm not even 40. I had very little goal starting from a trailer park in a small town, and by time I was in my 20s I already exceeded my life goals. And just been adding to them, but now I'm out of ideas, wants, needs. Edit. Wow. Thanks for all the replies and side stories that came from this. I've never seen my alerts at 170 plus before when logging in. Lol. Hope you all have a great day. Bro, speedrun life. Maybe not trouble, but a serious stress increase. I donated my eggs to a friend years before I had my daughter, and the result was a set of twins. My family doesn't know because they won't understand that these are not my kids, they're grandkids, their niece-nephew. If they find out, everything will explode and they will probably harass my friend, wanting contact. So I am waiting till my parents die to tell my brother, since he can't keep his mouth shut. I made $4,000 from $100 in a month from gambling in stocks. I proceeded to lose just about all of it shortly after. If my family knew that I was trading at that time and that I lost $4K, I would never hear the end of it, especially since we're deep in poverty and need just about every cent we have. I'm personally not too bothered by it anymore, and I've chalked it up as a funny story and learning experience. I was a delivery driver and one of our regular customers had a dog they kept in their backyard. No shade, no shelter, obviously matted down to the skin. I'm no expert, but that looked like a miserable life. I stole the dog. I met my best friend in the 7th grade, 2006/2007. We would spend almost every afternoon together as we lived in joined neighborhoods. We would 50/50 our houses. His mom would make salmon almost every time I came over because at one time I said it was my favorite. I think I was too nervous the first time I had it. She made it for me. Now, this was a big deal for his family and they always fought over the crispy salmon skin. From 2006 to 2017 I ate more salmon and crispy skin than I would ever want. I don't like salmon and I hate the crispy fishy tasting skin. It's horrible. I can't even smell it when my husband cooks it. I hate it. I still have to lie to my best friend and his angel mother when I see them and she makes me my favorite food and tell them how good it is while dying inside. I can never tell them how much I hate it and it's been too long at this point. To add to this, I now teach in the same town I grew up in. I had dinner with them after school in December 2022. My best friend's mom has had a hard go of things between caring for her elderly father with dementia, she herself is in her late 60s, and caring full-time for her 4 rambunctious grandkids. This woman went out of her way to make my favorite meal that I know takes her a while to make. No one can know. I'm allegedly a multi-time felon with a top-secret security clearance who still works for the government, and I have access to tens of thousands of social security numbers and private information. I'm a good dude and wouldn't do anything with anyone's private info, but it would screw me so bad if my current employer found out, even though I'm the best worker there by a landslide. The government really will hire almost anyone depending on the sector, regardless if they do background checks or not. I've just had a long-standing and positive relationship with government orgs for a long time now. I currently believe people just don't even think about checking because they know who I am. I live in a very wealthy town, but am just middle class. My husband and I don't come from money, had our kids very young, and I am a Sam. Our daughter was a very talented coxswain in high school, she just graduated. Very long story short, she was shafted and replaced by the kids of rich and powerful people in town, even though she consistently outperformed them. I tried to reach out to the other parents, who run the rowing program, the athletics director and even the principal by phone and email. We have never received any response. It's almost creepy. This absolutely ruined my daughter's chance at coxing in college at any of her dream schools that she was accepted at because she is also a scholar. She chose instead to just attend an in-state state school because we can't afford to send her to more prestigious schools without the rowing scholarship she could have obtained. So, we have to just shut up and take it because we absolutely are scared to try to go up against people like this. Honestly, duck these people and I hope karma finds them. I started so many small business and bought and sold things between them that I confused myself and the IRS to the point I didn't have to back pay taxes and IDK if I even needed to. In 1972, I was part of a crack commando unit sent to prison by a military court for a crime we didn't commit. We promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, I survive as a soldier of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find us, maybe you can hire the A-team. Heard from a friend who did some questionable things at work. Didn't do any actual work, fully knowing that would crash a lot of deadlines, but that wouldn't matter to him because by the time shit would hit the fan he'd be gone anyways. Got a consultant job at another ex-employer that pays for 10 hours a week but is only about 30 minutes of work because they were not able to keep products running without his intervention. Frequently bills hours he didn't work. Some other things in that vein too. A friend of mine. Not me though. Well, you could probably sue him, I guess. I only really work 1 day out of a 5-day week. If there are deadlines, I work more. I look busy and do enough to not get fired. Everyone thinks I am constantly overworked and behind schedule. I'm not. I don't volunteer for extra work or step up when they need an extra pair of hands. Why? Because I don't get a raise, a title bump, a thank you, or any form of recognition. I no longer put forward my ideas, and I have really good ones. Any passion or enthusiasm I had was just held off by the shitty, abusive, narcissistic, delusional bitch who I have the misfortune of working for. I have a nursing colleague who shouldn't be allowed to hold a license due to gross incompetence. She can't be fired until we build a sufficient case according to HR because she made a racism and bullying complaint against all the supervisors when corrective measures were taken to keep her from killing or permanently disabling patients through her incompetence. She has a medical error file that, in my old job, would have had her standing before the licensing board ages ago. The secret, no one is correcting her or stopping her anymore, because the manager of the department told the supervisors in a meeting she'd have to heal someone at this point. My hands are tied. In 3rd grade, I cheated on my history exam. In 4th grade, I stole my Uncle Max's toupee and I glued it on my face when I was Moses in my Hebrew school play. In 5th grade, I knocked my sister Edie down the stairs and I blamed it on the dog. When my mom sent me to the summer camp for fat kids and then they served lunch, I went nuts and I pigged out and they kicked me out. But the worst thing I ever done, I mixed a pot of fake puke at home and then I went to this movie theater, hid the puke in my jacket, climbed up to the balcony and then I made a noise like this. Hooah 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 hooah, and then I dumped it over the side, all over the people in the audience. And then, this was horrible, all the people started getting sick and throwing up all over each other. I never felt so bad in my entire life. I cheated during the German version of a high school diploma. If I had told anyone important up to 2 years after passing, I would have had the diploma taken away. That is, my university would have kicked me out. I had written as many bullet points on my belly with a Sharpie that I could think of beforehand. As we were allowed one short toilet break, I used it to check the things I couldn't answer. Passed with flying colors. In 1998, I met an ex-schoolmate friend, 13 years after HS graduation. He had a 12-year-old daughter then, and she had a newborn baby. We had also heard the story locally, and how the 23-year-old father skated on any criminal prosecution, etc. Claimed it was consensual, she insisted, etc. Typical pedo scumbag. Joe, not real name, told me he had a plan. About 2 months later, pedo's truck was found. He was never seen again. His mom's house burned. Her knee and back implants were found in the ashes. Along W. Remains of another girl that disappeared a few years before. Along with many pics, videos of little girls being screwed by this guy. Joe had moved his family to country W, no extradition treaty W. USA. Joe called me years later, told me the entire story. How a log chipper was involved, a timed explosion fire, etc. A swamp pool loaded gar, catfish, etc. He said he will never come back. I was questioned about where he was. They had my phone records, told them Joe didn't say where he was, anything relevant, etc. But he did. I'm not helping the justice system protect a murderer, her baby raper, etc. Joe did what should have been done. So I work in construction, and we were working on the renovations for a very large hotel chain on a 20+ floor hotel they had. Renovations included a ton of work in the lobby, coffee shop, bar, and entertainment venue, along with renovations on every bathroom on every single floor. Work in the bathrooms was a complete revamp. New walls, shower tub, vanity, etc. We started on the top floor, little bit of additional work on the penthouse floors, and eventually started ripping apart the bathrooms. The way the building was designed, the mechanical shaft was in the corner of the bathroom for all of the pipes to run. And once this was opened, our workers had discovered there was a leak in the shaft, because the drywall was nearly black with mold. Further investigation led to the discovery that there was mold issues throughout nearly the entire hotel because this leak had been going on for ages, dripping down each floor and getting into the drywall. Demo crews had already opened up a few bathrooms, and as demo guys not all of them are educated in what mold looks like. I recommended we stop work, get in some air quality tests and specific tests on the mold. My hotel contact refused, as he had a schedule to maintain and stopping work for an abatement wasn't part of the plan cost. I declined, pulled the crews off site, especially after the site super had such a bad reaction to the now airborne mold particles that his eye looked like it was bulging out of his head. The testing came back, 5 types of mold, 2 seriously toxic, rest not being great in large quantities. Presented this to the hotel along with the costs, and the recommendation to bring in a good abatement company to remove all of the mold properly. We found they had even tried to paint over the mold once it had started to grow further into the rooms, behind the beds even. Hotel had refused, and demanded we continue with work to maintain schedule. I refused. Turned out a lot of staff had health issues because of the mold, and the hotel wanted to even keep the hotel running while abatement finally happened. Our company came to an agreement with the hotel. Yada I can't talk about how shit they were to their employees and guests. This happened to me when I was in like 4th grade. Back then we had a special needs kid in our class. He would often have sudden outbursts and overall was quite the hassle. One day we had to get matches from our homes for a science experiment, and me being the chaotic kid I was decided to try lighting a match in the classroom, which caused quite the stir. And when the class was interrogated about what happened and who did it, I shifted the blame on the autistic kid, and due to his previous records and tendencies, they didn't doubt me in the slightest. The autistic kid got a temporary suspension, while I got away scot-free. I made to the whole year without anyone suspecting a thing, and the next year I moved schools, so the chances of them finding the true perpetrator is impossible. Am I proud of it? No. I exploited a person's disability for my own benefits, and I feel like a shit person doing it. As a kid I didn't think much of it, I just thought I got away with it and that's all. But now that I am more grown and mature, I realize the absolute gravity of the situation. I could have gotten this poor kid expelled for something he had zero involvement in. In 2006, here in Canada there was a huge oil drilling boom in Alberta. Lots of young guys my age went out to Alberta to make $10 KMO plus doing manual labor jobs. Several of my friends went. I stayed home because I was making a living playing poker at the time. One of my friends was injured on the job out there and invited me out there to play poker with him. There were tons of poker games going on everywhere, lots of young guys with tons of cash. We spent the entire winter cheating at poker. We had a dozen tricks and scams. Most of it centered around the idea of loading the bottom of the deck and base stealing each other's cards. Mechanics grip. We had some good communication tricks, and we did it very well. We could make a couple grand per night. Never got caught. It was a shitty living. We slept in a van or hotels for the winter, and ate gas station food for a while. It was me who hit the reset button on the router during a live game, and my stepson was playing. He was on Discord shouting and just being obnoxious. I got irritated and hit the reset button, and he lost his feed. He came out to the living room and started tugging at the cords, and I was like, yeah, I lost Netflix, too. What I really wanted to tell him was, get a job Brandon, and move out already. But I know that won't work because mom will come running and coddle him some more. And I would be the one in THR doghouse. I hate who my dad has become and sometimes I wish he'd just die already, and lately I haven't even been feeling guilty about it anymore. But I do love him. He was a good father for a very long time. It'll be interesting when he does pass to discover how I'll feel about it. For context, my dad is very ill very often and doesn't have a lot longer left to go before he passes, maybe a few years if lucky. He's a bully, manipulative, confrontational, gaslights, etc. He wasn't always that way. The constant illness and pain hasn't been kind to him. I was involved in a road rage incident that caused an accident, and I fled the scene. I was at a red light waiting to turn left, when a motorcycle pulled up to the car in front of me and they started talking through the window. I honked as the light had been green and I waited at least 30 seconds, but I didn't wanna miss the light cause I was on my way to one of my college classes. The car drove off but the man on the motorcycle began spitting on my car and yelling at me. I honked and flipped him off, and he turned left and I quickly followed. He then proceeded to cut me off, screaming at me and brake checking me, so as soon as traffic let me I did the same to him, and when I cut him off he must have hit the curb and crashed. I didn't make any contact with him, but I did cause him to crash and I just sped off. I saw a fire truck pull over to help the guy. I do feel pretty guilty about that. Since then I don't engage with people on the road anymore. It's not worth it.